So there's no reason to watch your health deteriorate because you have 100% control over what's going to be happening. And if you're in a place where you're ready to reclaim your health, that can happen now too. It's just not too late.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Hello and welcome to the Health in the Real World podcast. I'm Chris Janke and I'm joined today with Amy White. Amy's a board certified holistic nutritionist and functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner. Amy, welcome to the show today.
I'm excited to be here, Chris.
So I give just a very brief intro, but tell everybody specifically about what you do, what kind of clients you work with, and who you help.
So my whole thing is just basic total body wellness. So early in my life, I was in my late 30s and I was one of those people that, all of a sudden had time because my kids were a little older. And I had this moment where I got to take a breath and kind of look at myself and think, what happened? I don't even recognize myself. I'm completely uncomfortable. And since then, I have kind of figured out, I became a nutritionist in my early 40s. That's when I got my master's degree in nutrition. And so since then, I've completely shifted now in my mid 50s to feeling way better and looking better than I did in my late 30s. And so I work with a lot of women, men too, but a lot of women 45 and older who are kind of at that place where they're discovering that their kids are sort of off on their own and they now have time and they aren't particularly satisfied with where they're at. And they know they can have more and they want more. And that's what I'm all about. I'm like, do not give up on yourself. It's because I have people who've come to me in their late 30s where I was and said, I know my best years are behind me, but I just don't want it to get worse. And I thought, oh my gosh, you have no idea. The best years are really ahead of you, but it's up to you. You have to make that happen.
Right.
So that's what I do.
I think you've piqued everyone's interest, the fact that you feel better in your mid 50s than you did in your 30s. So let's dive into that. What is one or two or maybe a handful of things that somebody can do to get started right away to get healthy?
Well, so I will jump out there and say I'm a low sugar nutritionist. So I am all about cutting out the crappy food. Now that doesn't mean you don't eat sugar. It doesn't mean you're not having carbohydrates. It just means you're eating better foods. You're less ring dings and Twinkies and more veggies and fruit and even some sourdough breads and things like that, potatoes and sweet potatoes, but real foods as opposed to the packaged crappy foods. So I'm going to go right out there and tell you that. But the first thing I always tell people I look at with people is protein. So I'm always going to say we have to prioritize protein. And one of the big reasons we're prioritizing protein is because it's a really easy way to kind of crowd out that other crappy food without noticing that you're pushing it aside. You're fuller, you feel more satisfied. So you're actually not hunting around for that kind of food as much. So prioritize the protein is one of the first things. And then when it comes to making changes, very difficult. I don't want if somebody tells you it's super simple, just walk away because change is not easy. Right. So pick one small thing that you can do that is actually going to make you better, not worse. One small thing, and just work on that little change. And then once that gets comfortable, then you can start working on something else. And then you start building this momentum and you start building your confidence. And then you can maybe make some more bigger changes, but you let the little changes build. That's really important because if you take big steps, you often will just, take 2 big steps forward and then fall back. So it's better to take small steps and just kind of let it build. And then the other thing that is really something I try to dig in with people is understanding your priorities. So everybody's always like, you have to know your why. I personally, like, whenever I hear that, I'm always like, oh, can we just get started? Do we have to do, what is all that noise? But it actually makes sense because we often have these conflicting priorities. And so, for example, somebody who's like, no, I just need to lose 10 pounds. I just have to lose 10 pounds and I just can't lose 10 pounds. It's likely they have conflicting priorities. So they have this priority to lose this 10 pounds, but then they have something else going on in their life as is that they also like, but they're not recognizing that those two things are kind of fighting against each other. So one's keeping them in the status quo and the other one's pushing them forward. So there's creating this ambivalence that they don't even recognize. So we kind of have to dig through.
Yeah, I love that. First, vocabulary word of the day, ambivalence. I like that. And I want to go back to, I like what you're saying about let the little changes build. This is I've written a few books, self-published, and one of them is called Help, My Diet Sucks. And that's the concept around it. Yeah. And so I wanted to dive into what you said about prioritizing protein. Because if somebody's going to leave this show, this particular episode, and do one thing, prioritizing protein. So let's teach somebody how they would start prioritizing protein. What are some of the things they would start doing?
Okay. So one of the reasons we want to prioritize protein, especially if we're older, is because we want to create this muscle protein synthesis. We want to, build this lean muscle, or at least maintain our lean muscle, since it's our organ of longevity. So what I've learned and read about protein is we need sort of a bolus of 30 grams of protein when you sit down to eat, because the 30 grams of protein has the right amount of amino acids to create this muscle protein synthesis. So the protein that you're eating, you're actually using properly. So less, 25 to 30 grams. So what I say is bare minimum when you sit down to eat, try to make sure you're getting at least 25 or 30 grams of protein, ideally more, but that would be your bare minimum. So if you eat 3 times a day, your bare minimum amount of protein would be 90 grams. And a lot of people are probably thinking 90 grams, it's so much. I actually run across people all the time who are like, how can I eat that much protein? And to me, 90 grams of protein is teeny. Like that, I usually eat closer to 150 to 200 grams of protein in a day. So it's not hard, but you have to understand that what your protein weighs versus the amount of protein in that is different. So
right.
Sense.
So you want to go based off of the packaging, right? Like if you have chicken, for example, you want to go based on this much chicken is this much protein, right? Exactly.
Yeah. And so shoot for about 30 grams of protein when you sit down to eat. So if you're having a big salad for lunch, try to make sure you're getting, salmon or chicken or, whatever with your salad. So you're getting that protein. And then of course, dinner's easy, have a protein. And then your fun food would be your veggies and that kind of stuff to go with that protein. But always prioritize the protein and always eat the protein first. So like I'll say, if you're having hamburgers for dinner, and we don't eat buns, in my house, we don't eat a lot of grains. So we don't eat buns. So we make kind of these yummy hamburger stacks. So you'll get the hamburger and maybe some avocado and maybe it's a cheeseburger and some sauteed onions, whatever, to make it fancy. But I usually say, and then we'll have sauteed broccoli or something on the side. But what I tell my clients is, you're not having a bun. So one hamburger often isn't that filling. So if you're still hungry, I want you to have another hamburger. And then you can, go in and enjoy the broccoli and all the other fun food. But if you're still hungry, eat another hamburger. So have a second portion of that protein.
I'm going to try using that with my kids, telling them that broccoli is a fun food.
It's a fun food.
See if we can get them to eat more of it. Okay,
roast it with olive oil and every kid will eat it.
Right. Exactly. So, okay, I like this. So 30 grams of protein is kind of the benchmark. And so what you're saying is aim for 30 grams of protein per meal. And I would imagine that depending on how big you are, whether you're a man or woman, would dictate maybe how many of those 30 gram meals you eat.
I'm definitely a 2 to 3 meal a day person.
Okay.
So I don't do the 5 or 6 mini meals. It depends on the client. If somebody has to tune into their hunger cues, then I might have them do smaller meals until they get used to feeling hungry or understand, it depends on the client. But I usually want to move everybody into 2 to 3 meals a day without snacks.
Got
So
it.
again, back to prioritizing that protein. So I'm like, if you can't go 4 to 5 hours between meals comfortably, we need to go back and look at what you ate, and you need to figure out, you need to eat more because it
Yes.
wasn't enough.
Right.
So again, if you're eating 3 times a day, it would be 30 grams of protein. It's really interesting because one of the most recent things I read about this, it's not really, it's really your age that kind of dictates how much protein you need. So anybody from like their mid 50s to like 60 or 60 and above, it was somewhere like 150 to 200 grams of protein, which was interesting. You know, and that can fluctuate. It depends on how much you're exercising as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know. That's what I'm finding. And the women that I'm getting to sort of shift over now and prioritize their protein this way are having great results. And they're not hungry and they're not feeling deprived. So it makes a difference.
Yeah, it absolutely does. So you mentioned 150 plus grams of protein for somebody who was, I think you said in their 50s and above. So younger people would need even more, right?
Actually, younger people need less because they still have the hormones that are creating this
Ah,
muscle protein synthesis. As we age, those hormones sort of deplete. So we need to actually manufacture that muscle protein synthesis with our diet. So with the protein we're eating, but also with resistance training. So you can also do it with exercise. So if you can do both, that's even better. But like a young person in their 20s, their body's just working. It's doing all the right things. So they can actually get away with less protein. Not that they need to, they certainly can eat a lot of protein, but it's just funny to think that as we age, we tend to eat less protein.
Right, which is backwards, right? And it's funny though, when I would look at my kids, I have 4 kids, age range from 2 to 9, and they don't eat much protein. They'll eat fruit, vegetables, fruit, vegetables, little beef jerky, fruit, vegetable, fruit. And I'm like, you ate like this much protein in the whole day, but that makes a lot of sense what you say about their bodies just can synthesize the protein so much better than yours or mine. And that makes sense.
Yeah. It's amazing. And one of the things I'm learning with my grandkids watching them is they actually regulate their appetites so well. Like we always were like, aren't you hungry? You need a snack. Don't you want to eat? You just got up out of bed. You just got out of bed. You must have to have breakfast. And they're like, they are not hungry. They're
Like,
just like, oh, I'm going to play. And they'll come around to getting hungry, but it's so fun to watch that and go, this is how it's supposed to work. You know, you're supposed to follow your appetite. You're not supposed to create this artificial appetite, you know, on the clock or because it's this, you know, whatever is happening. So it's fun to watch them. And I keep reminding my daughter, it's okay. He'll eat when he's hungry.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yeah. If you are a halfway observant person and you watch children behave, you can get a lot of keys as far as how to become healthy yourself, how much to move, when to eat, like you said, when to go to sleep, when to wake up, the circadian rhythms, all that stuff. So that's great. Yeah. I really like that. So Amy, I want to pull this back to you a little bit. Sometimes as health and wellness practitioners, we get people telling us, or at least I do, you know, oh, it's easy for you. You know, you played sports when you were a kid, or you're younger than I am, or whatever, insert your excuse here. But, you know, I struggle with my stuff too, and I'm sure you do. So where do you struggle with your health and fitness personally, and what have you done to get past that?
So I am a total sugar addict. I love cake, cupcakes. If you would feed me cupcakes, I would just eat them all day. Love it. So for me, it's really a question of kind of designing my environment so that mindlessly I'm doing the right things. I just did this on a Facebook Live earlier today because I just came back from vacation and I was staying at my sister's house, and my niece makes cookies, and so I ate like all kinds of stuff I don't normally eat. But it was okay because I knew I was coming home. I was going to be right back in my normal environment and everything was going to be fine. So for me, I have my environment designed in a way that I don't have simple, mindless nibbles around that if I get tired and I can't really think and I'm kind of hungry, that I would just gravitate toward. I use tortilla chips as an example. Yum. Love the salt. But if I have tortilla chips in the house and I get tired and I need a quick snack, I will gravitate toward the tortilla chips. It's not that I can't have tortilla chips or I'm afraid of tortilla chips, but I don't want to mindlessly eat them. Just as I don't want to mindlessly eat cupcakes. So they're not in my house. Now, if I decide I just really, really, really want a cupcake one day, I can go out and I can buy a cupcake. That's fine, because I thought about it and I chose to do that and I planned it, as opposed to having it in my regular environment. So to me, and with clients, I'm always talking like, let's create your safety zone. Let's create your environment so that you don't have to do a lot of thinking and choosing at home. That way you have that kind of left over and saved up for when you do need to make choices out in the world or whatever you're doing. So for me, that's like the easiest way for me to kind of maintain the regular things that I do that I feel like support the health and wellness that I want. So
yeah, I like that. You're basically, you're not putting cupcakes off the table. You're just saying, if you're going to eat a cupcake, you're going to eat a cupcake with, mindfully. You're going to make a decision. You're going to drive to the store. You're going to, and what I like about that is you're extending out the decision-making process, where at any point of that decision-making process, if just even one time you decide, this is maybe a bad idea, I don't really want a cupcake, you can just cut it, and it makes it that much harder. And I tell people that really the only time you need self-discipline is at the grocery store. If you don't buy it, you can't eat it, or it's, you make it harder to eat it.
Right.
But I do like your approach, how it's, you're not saying, no, it's horrible, you can never eat that again. It's just, let's set up your environment so that if you want to reach for that snack, you can reach for the vegetable or the cheese stick or whatever else you're going to eat, right?
Right. The things that work for you versus against you. So we want more of the works for you, less of the work against you. So make the good stuff easy and the bad stuff harder, but you're not totally taking it off the table. And like you said, you're creating this distance. So you're building in these moments of pause where you have this time to like think, oh yeah, no, I do really want that, and also I say it's better not to, if you're really craving something in the moment, it's not something you should have that day. Just plan it for the next day. Go, boy, I really want this cupcake. So tomorrow after lunch, I'm going to get this cupcake. And, chances are you've had so many moments of pause between now and tomorrow after lunch that you really may not want the cupcake, but maybe you do. So you have it.
And if you do, you have it guilt-free. You just do it.
Exactly.
Yep. And I like that, and I like that for planning for tomorrow too, because in the space of time between now and tomorrow, you're going to have maybe 3 or 4 meals, protein rich meals. And if you get all the nutrients that you need, like you said, you might stop craving that cupcake.
Yeah.
Or you still want it and you eat it and you move on. It's, life's too short to stress over cupcakes.
And the other thing that I'm big on is this idea of treat, don't cheat. So, often if I want a cupcake, I know how to actually make something at home that's not going to throw my metabolic hormones out of balance. It's not going to spike my blood sugar. It's not going to cause me to crave more treats. It's going to be delicious and yummy and satisfying, but it doesn't create sugar cravings because I use alternative sweeteners. I use non-flour grain-based flours and things that aren't going to spike my blood sugar. So they don't create those cravings. And that's a big deal, to be able to have a brownie and not have to eat the whole tray, be like, oh, that was really good. And at the first time it happened to me when I made my own brownies in the way that I make them without the sugar cravings, forgetting that I had them, I was just like, I can't believe I forgot we have brownies. But that's what happens because the cravings don't kick up from if you know how to adapt the recipe. So you're eating sort of lower sugar foods.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. So Amy, I want to go big picture now. I want to give you the opportunity to give a motivational speech to, let's say, like a corporation or a university graduation, bigger picture, life principles, goal setting, how to structure your day. Go whichever direction you want, but let's say 1 to 2 minute motivational speech to get people really jazzed up and excited to live their best life.
Well, I think the first thing that I like to address is this idea of age. So age to me is a number. It's you have total control over how you're going to feel and how you're going to look. And the sooner you start to recognize that food is information and what you choose to eat and how you eat is actually going to impact how you feel, how you look, how you move, how you age. Um, you can start taking that control. So there's no reason to watch your health deteriorate because you have 100% control over what's going to be happening. And if you're in a place where you're ready to reclaim your health, that can happen now too. It's just not too late. I think I see a lot of this idea that, oh, it's too late, or I don't know what to do, or, you know, again, my best years are behind me. And I'm just, that is so not true. And the other thing that's so important if you're a family is if you're the gatekeeper of the food, of what comes in the house and of what you're cooking, you have this amazing gift to give to the rest of your family, especially if you have children, because they'll start to eat what you're eating. And so you're helping them develop these good habits and just great health that they will then carry with them throughout life. So it's so important to me for people to understand that they can actually feel amazing. And I feel like this sort of second part of life, so when you get to that mid 40s and beyond, it's just this second childhood. But now we're smarter, we have some disposable income, you know, we don't care so much what other people think. So it's just like way better, and you have control over it. So take advantage so you can have fun and feel good in that second childhood.
Love that. The second childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kids are off and don't want to hang out with you anymore. And it's like, I got some free time.
And nobody's telling you what to do, right?
Right.
This is you now. You get to call all the shots.
You call all the shots. Exactly. That's awesome. I love that. It's never too late. You know, no matter how old we think we are or how out of balance, out of health we are, it's never too late. We're still alive. We still have the option to make better choices and turn our health around.
Right. And I'm sure you've said this, and I'm sure people have heard this, but most of the issues that people are dealing with as we age, there are these common things, like everyone has it. So then we all start to think it's normal.
Right.
It's not normal. And it's
Right.
definitely, these are diseases and issues of lifestyle. And I know thinking about changing your lifestyle is huge, but then back to those baby steps, you know, just pick something simple and figure. I had one client, this is such a funny story, because she saw all these transformation photos online and she just thought, oh, I could never do that. That looks so hard. And so they kind of had the opposite effect on her. But now she's one of those people, you know, a year later, she's lost over 50 pounds, but she did it in these teeny tiny steps, teeny increments, just making little changes. And slowly but surely, she's like, oh, wow, I lost another pound. And it just happened. But she didn't feel like she was doing anything too tricky or too hard. She's like, I totally did it, you know? So you just take those little tiny steps.
It just kind of seamlessly integrates in your lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. You have to start where you are.
Yeah.
So you can't just going out and telling somebody, okay, you know, you need to eat this, you have to stop eating that. And that's never going to work.
Right.
People need to actually come to those choices on their own. So being there to help them, to kind of walk next to them and guide them is very different than trying to be this person that's telling them what to do. That's not going to work.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't work. Well, Amy, how do people get in touch with you? Website, social media?
Yes. So my website is called thesimplicityoфwellness.com. And you can definitely contact me through the website. I'm on Facebook as The Simplicity of Wellness, and I'm on Instagram as The Simplicity of Wellness. So that's easy. I'm on Pinterest and LinkedIn as well, but those are probably my three big spots, is the website, Facebook, and Instagram.
Nice. Well, Amy, I really appreciate you joining me today on Health in the Real World. Hopefully we'll have you back again soon, and best of luck to you. And everybody watching, reach out to Amy, check out her website. And again, Amy, thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. So we're done recording. I just have a few little housekeeping questions. So first, so I want to feature, well, not feature, but I want like future guests to be able to have an idea of what this interview is like. Would you be open to just doing a 10-second, like quick testimonial, talking to that person who's thinking about scheduling with me, just about what the experience was like?
Oh God, yeah, for sure.
Cool. So we're recording already. So if you want to just talk to that person and let them know what this.
So I've actually done a bunch of podcasts. I've been a guest on a bunch of podcasts, and I will say that Chris was so organized. I felt like the process was so simple, and you're so easy to talk to, which was also very nice. But it was really nice. The process was so easy because I just got on your calendar and I found a spot, and then I got several emails from you explaining the process and what to do. And then I also loved that I got updates on when we were going to be meeting. And so that was helpful. It's, but I felt the process was so easy. And again, it was really comfortable speaking with you. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.